Hey, hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 12th International Experts Sharing Meeting with a theme of digital storytelling and cross-cultural communication that is held today on January 16, 2026. My name is Shafira, and I will be assisting you as the Master of Ceremony for today's event. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants who have gathered here today to learn more about digital storytelling. As we all know, in the digital era, storytelling goes beyond borders and cultures to help people share ideas and understand each other better across the world. We hope this event can encourage meaningful discussions and strengthen cross-cultural communication in the digital age. But before we start the event, I would like to encourage all the participants here to turn on your camera and also use the virtual background that our team has provided in the chat box. Okay, without further ado, let us start the event. So I will start with introducing the flow of the activity. The first activity will be activity introduction, where I will be doing the background of the activity and also introduction of experts. And then after that will be followed by an opening remark from representative member from CIMOTED. And then after that, we will move into the expert presentation session and also Q&A. As for today, we will have 5 experts attending this session, and each expert will have 10 to 15 minutes time of presentation. And then after that, we will conclude the event by doing a group photo and also the ending. So this is the background introduction of the event. The International Expert Sharing Meeting aims to strengthen academic and professional exchange between education experts across Asian countries and China by providing a shared platform for dialogue. It encourages diverse cross-disciplinary interaction, supports regional knowledge, and also fosters deeper collaboration on emerging educational industry trends. And then as for future outlook, International Expert Sharing Meeting will be held every month, and in different sessions will feature a distinct theme. Topics will span in various fields from education, business, engineering to provide a diverse and also enriched experience for scholars. So we will move on to the introduction of experts. The 5 experts are from the following institutes. The first one is National Institute of Development Administration from Thailand. And also the second is Universitas Hairun, Indonesia. And then the third one is Guangzhou Nanfang College from China. And the fourth one is Cebu Technological University, the Philippines. And then the last one will be from Universitas Riau, Indonesia. So this is the first introduction of experts. We have Associate Professor Dr. Patawut Sharon Roop. He is an Associate Professor of English at the National Institute of Development Administration. He is also a Fulbright Scholar with research experience at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, USA. He has also published 20 plus articles in Scopus Index international journals. He is also an international conference presenter at leading global forums, and he is also invited international keynotes on AI education and policy at Applied Key Exchange 2025 program. He is also assistant to the president for international affairs at NIDA, co-editor at NIDA Language and Communication Journal, Graduate School of Language and Communication at NIDA. For Associate Professor Dr. Patrawut, are you here with us? Can you say hello?
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you hear my voice like very clearly. It is an honor to be here and be part of the expert to share my interest on the theme of digital storytelling.
Okay, thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Patrawut. We can hear you well. Thank you for greeting us. And then after that, we will move into the second expert. The second expert is Dr. M. Rida Ajam. He is a rector at Universitas Hairun Indonesia from 2021 to 2025. He is also the member of the Higher Education Council, Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology. He is also a lead researcher and policy contributor on regional tourism and cultural development in North Maluku, Indonesia. He is also a chairman of multiple election oversight and selection committees at regional level. And lastly, he is a former vice rector for academic affairs and student affairs and cooperation. Dr. Rida, are you here with us today?
Hello. Good
Yes,
afternoon, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunities to join this uh, what we call storytelling and meeting in this. Thank you very much.
thank you very much, Dr. Rida, for reading. And then we will move to the third expert. We have Dr. Nguyen Liu with us. She is a faculty member at Guangzhou Nanfang College, teaching public administration and public relations. She is also a deputy editor of Scientific and Social Research, or SSR. She is also an author of multiple first author publications on AI governance, public policy, health legislation, and AI regulation. And lastly, she is a leader and contributor to national and university level policy and governance projects. Dr. Liu, can you greet us today?
Hello, everyone. I'm very pleasure to have the chance in here to talk about today's the AI, the digital media, and about all of the experts to talk in here. We are happy. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It is also our pleasure to have you here with us. Okay, and then moving on to the fourth expert, we have Dr. Christian Riley Chen. He is an associate professor of English literary studies. He is a book writer, translator, and reviewer and creative writer. He is also a project leader of the Kabataan sa Kalambuan, or Youth for Progress, empowering the youth through community theater. He is a former dean of the College of Arts and Science and assistant campus director, and he holds PhD in comparative literature at University of the Philippines, Diliman from 2024 until present. Dr. Christian, hello, can you hear us? Can you greet us?
Yes, hello, good day, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here with you all, especially at this very interesting conference, and I hope to share an equally interesting topic on translation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Christian, for the greeting. And then for the last expert, we have Ms. Saja Adila Putri. She is a lecturer in English education at Universitas Riau. She is also coordinator of public relations, leading faculty digital communication. She holds master's degree in English language education with focus on teacher education and digital pedagogy. And she is also published research on ICT competence and learner autonomy in EFL context. And she is a certified content creator with expertise in video-based and digital learning designs. Ms. Saja, hello, can you greet us?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and I'm so grateful to be part of this session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the greeting, Ms. Saja. Now that we have introduced all of the experts for today's event, we will move on to hear the opening remark from Simultet. So we will have Mr. Ravi Phone for he is the Vice Head of Research and Development Division of Simultet. For Mr. Ravi, the time and screen are yours.
Thank you so much, Safira. Yes, is it? I pronounced your name correctly? I'm sorry.
Yes,
and good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can
Hello.
hear you.
We can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry I can't open my window because of my area was cut off the electricity right now. I still use my internet, and basically I use my Wi-Fi. So again, good afternoon, distinguished speaker, honored guest, and dear participant. Very warm greeting from Simotit office in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I hope everyone is very good. Again, my name is Ravi Vươn. I'm the vice head of Simotit. It is my great pleasure to the Song Heng Ai Center Director behalf. And welcome to the 2026 first International Expert Sharing Meeting on Digital Storytelling and Cross-Cultural Communication. We are truly delighted to see the participants joining from different countries and institutes, reflecting the spirit of international cooperation and this program aims to promote. In today's meeting, provide an important platform for senior experts and scholars to share their knowledge, experience, and research. As digital technologies continue to platform the way we communicate, and the ability to tell story across cultures has become more essential than ever. Through digital storytelling, we are able not only to share information, but also to connect emotion, values, and identities across borders. In this program also highlight the importance of cross-cultural understanding. By listening to each other perspective, we strengthen mutual respect, reduce misunderstanding, and open doors to new partnerships in education, technologies, social innovation. And I believe the insights shared today will inspire creative ideas, practical solutions, and lasting collaborations among us. I take this opportunity. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our esteemed speaker from their contribution and to all participants for your active engagement. I wish you all a fruitful discussion and very successful meeting. Thank you so much. Back to you, MC.
Okay, thank you very much for the very heartwarming and inspiring opening, Mr. Ravi. So without further ado, we will move on to the next session, will be the expert presentation session. So for the expert presentation session, the first one, we will have three experts and three experts will be given each 10 to 15 minutes. As for this first speaker, we have Associate Professor Dr. Patawut Charungup from National Institute of Development Administration, Thailand, and then followed by Dr. Emrida Ajam from Universitas Hairun, Indonesia. And then after that will be followed by Dr. Guizhen Liu from Guangzhou Nanfang College, China. So we will hear the first material from Associate Professor Dr. Patawut. He will be bringing the topic of speaking across cultures through digital stories, intended meaning, diverse context, and English as a lingua franca. So without further ado, the time and screen are yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Sayafira, for your nice introduction. I'm trying to share my screen, but right now I can't do it. So let me share the screen first, and then I will begin my presentation. I think that maximum time is 15 minutes. I try to be in that scope of time so that I will allow time for questions at the end of the third presentation. Well, when I receive the idea of storytelling, or we talk about digital storytelling, well, I come up with this, which is speaking across cultures through digital stories. And there are three things that I'd like to focus today. Number one is intended meaning or the purpose. Number two is in or across diverse context. And the third one is the role of English in using it as a medium of communication. Well, before we go further, I have this word, which is one of the key terms appearing on my title, which is storytelling. Well, when we talk about storytelling, there are a lot of or plenty of definition, but the one that I like the most is by Dennison in 2021. He described the term storytelling as the deliberate construction and communication of narrative to convey meaning and share experiences, right? Of convey meaning, share experiences, or influence understanding. So all of these things is that the fact is you have one of the key point, which is deliberate construction. So every time when you tell people story, tell them what happened, or telling someone something happened, you should have an intention why you want to tell them a story, right? Why you want to tell them a story. And these, in the combination of temporal, causal, thematic elements, all of these in the analysis, we talk about, story elements. We can have like the plots, the character, the setting, the theme, point of view, conflict, etc., right? And these are, good, components for, the one that I found very useful definition for what we call storytelling. Next, I would like to talk about one of the strategy that people use when they analyze storytelling, and that is called narratology. Narratology is focusing not only what is told, which is story, but it is investigating how the story is told, which is discourse. And when we talk about discourse, it's all about the styling. It's all about the what we call discourse organization, right? And many more like perspective sequencing. So narratology is very, very relatable to the digital storytelling. The
Dr.
next slide,
Pachawut, I'm sorry. Can
yeah.
you put your slides to full screen, sir?
Is it working now? I'm trying to move to the next slide because yesterday I tried to do this one, but it didn't work. So now it's in the digital storytelling page.
Yes,
Did you see that page?
the slides are working, but I kindly request you to put the slides on full screen, sir.
Yeah, I did. I think I already did on the full screen. Let me share one more time.
Okay.
Okay, let me share it here. And then here is the full screen. Can you see it? So now what you see on the screen, sorry, is it the digital storytelling?
I think it hasn't been put in the full screen, sir. We can still see the PowerPoint desktop.
Okay, if you can still see it, I will stick with that. Would it be okay for everyone to see the screen?
Oh, yes. That is
Because
okay, sir.
yesterday I tried, but it doesn't work. That's why I keep with this one, and then I have to go through like this. Okay, anyway, I'll show you this one, the third slide, which you can see the word like YouTube, Twitter, Booking.com, TripAdvisor, Facebook, and Traveloka. Well, when we talk about these online platforms, well, these online platforms actually provide you a new channels or new platforms that you can post or you can share story, right? When you share the story on these platforms, like the social media platform like Facebook and YouTube, or online travel platforms or Traveloka or Booking.com, your message can go further and reach wider audience, right? Wider audience. And this comes to the concept of digital storytelling. And the digital storytelling is the practice of telling, again, purposeful through the integration of two things. Number one is narrative structure, and number two is digital media, enabling individual to express voice, construct meaning, and communicate with an audience with a broader social context, right? With the social context. Then, if you remember part of the title that that I have in my presentation, there is a word culture. And I'd like to explain two conceptual frameworks having a derivation or derivational morphology or morpheme from the word culture, which are two frameworks. Number one is called cross-cultural communication, as you can see on the screen. And the second one is the intercultural communication. These two conceptual frameworks will be used throughout my presentation because after this, I'm going to talk about my 6 selected studies on, digital storytelling. Well, cross-cultural communication, the key highlight is about comparison. If you would like to compare, for example, how Japanese responds to compliments and how Indonesian speakers respond to the same speech act, which is compliments. And then you see how they are similar in terms of their responses or how they're different, and that is called cross-cultural communication. The second one is intercultural communication. Intercultural communication is quite different from cross-cultural communication because when you talk about intercultural communication, you talk about interaction. When there is an interaction, there's not always, there's usually at least two parties to engage. And if the two people engaging in that conversation or in that interaction doesn't share the same native language, doesn't share the same native culture, that is the intercultural communication. The point is we have to find out what language that could appear to be a common language to allow them to communicate between one another. And that is the highlight or the key points that underlying the concept of intercultural communication. So these are two concepts that I'm using. From now until the end of my presentation, which I will spend another 10 minutes, I will share with you what I have done in my research that will show you the digital storytelling. Well, I think you have seen this person and you know him so well. He is Simon Cowell. And I think you have come across the term reality television show, right? Reality television show. One of the things is you can have people coming into an audition and then they show their talents. And after that, there would be a panel of judges, right? Criticize them, evaluate their performance. Past studies, a lot of them would, analyze the panel of judges without looking at individual differences. And then they treat all the panels as one single entity. And they look at the panel of judges, how they compliment, how they criticize. In my study back in 2021, I selected two reality television shows. One is the Britain's Got Talent, and the other one is America's Got Talent. And I look at how Simon Cowell expressed the compliment. Well, based on the previous study, Cowell has been described as malicious judge, notoriously unpleasant Simon Cowell, authoritative judge, the cruel but honest judge, or even the witty executioner. So you can see that this represents not very positive image of Cowell. However, he also gave a lot of constructive feedback. So in my study, I focus on the talent shows that receive the Golden Buzzer and look at how Cowell would, use the storytelling to complement the contestants. And I would like to see whether there would be an effect on the environment. One is the Britain's Got Talent, and the other one is the America Got Talent, whether this external environment would affect the way he tells or told the story. Well, the point is we could not see remarkable tendency that can conclude that the external environment affects him as a person to tell a story. He used a lot of positive adjective in explicit compliment, like 86.36% in America Got Talent and 87.80% in Britain's Got Talent. Like example, you have got amazing presence, or you have just seen the most amazing Golden Buzzer. Why? In this digital storytelling, everything keep, straightforward, easy to understand, and, not so complicated. However, I also see, the Simon Cowell, he also used a lot of implicit compliments, and the ones that he used the most frequently is the evaluation and the admiration. The reason is because these two forms are part of his role as judge. Moving on to the second paper that I selected was, in 2022, if you remember, Mr. Shinzo Abe, right? He was assassinated. He passed on July 8, 2022. Queen Elizabeth II passed at the old age, but on September 8, 2022, and by the end of the year, December 31st, 2022. A lot of press, a lot of social media expressed the year 2022 as a year marked by high-profile deaths. At that time, a lot of world leaders, expressed their condolences and expressed the condolence messages to Mr. Shinzo Abe, Queen Elizabeth II, and Pope Benedict XVI. My study would like to see, because when I look at these diseases, I could see that there are differences in terms of the social variables. For example, the role, the gender, cause of death, and also length of reign or term as a leader. So I give you a short example, and I could see that, when people express, or the world leader express their condolence, like they tell a story, they express shock. And this sub-strategy appear only in the case of Mr. Shinzo Abe, and it never appear in any other cases. Why? Because the social variable affect the way people use or select particular strategy. The same can be said about the case for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, because people use the strategy called known spatial quality because her long range. People said Her Majesty was an extraordinary, world-renowned public figure who lived a remarkable life. So now you can see that when you look at how people express, it shows something, it reflects some social variable. The third paper is here when I think in 2013, 2023, there were at least three leaders in countries, and these are female leaders, stepped down in the position as first female minister or first minister of a country, and all of them are female. Nicola Sturgeon, Jacinda Ardern, Julie Gillard, and the last one, I think you know her quite well, which is Elizabeth Truss. These are female and native speakers of English. Of course, they use English. I like to see the cross-cultural comparison, whether in their resignation speeches, are they different when they tell the story during their resignation speeches? Do they use or did they use different strategies? And the only difference lies between the four participants is that the level of social distancing between themselves and the citizen in the country are different. Elizabeth Truss staying in the office as the prime minister the shortest, around like 1 month and a half. So when I look at the strategy that they use, I found self-pressed. Everyone except Elizabeth Truss used direct self-press. Like, I'm very proud of what this government has achieved, which will endure the long term. Very proud of the way in which we achieved. So now in that what we call like the resignation speeches, we can expect, something like we are leaving, right? The position, we have to say goodbye to the people. But for these people, when you look at their story, it's not about saying goodbye. It's not about saying that I have to leave, but they press themselves, right? They press themselves. Another strategy that I see across the four speaker was the reference to hard work. No matter how long they are in the office, they use the same strategy, which is the reference to hard work. For example, Julia, right? She said that it has not been an easy environment to work in. So this one, she narrated her personal experiences, but I'm pleased that in this environment, which wasn't easy, I have prevailed to ensure that this country is made stronger and smarter and fairer to the future. So now you can see what happened here is they selected specific story to tell people. And when you look at those story, it is the self-praise strategy embedded in the resignation speeches. Well, coming halfway, I still have 3 more studies. And then this study, which is in the religious context, which is the Gospel of Luke. Well, when you look at, the gospel or the scripture in the past, it was written down as book and people read the scripture, right? But right now, all of these information was transferred and uploaded to an international website. So you can retrieve information at any time that you would like to have a look. And then I consider this as a digital storytelling. Well, in the Bible or in the scripture, Jesus tell a lot of stories, and there are at least like 3 kind of story that we can find in the Bible or in the gospel. One of them is called the parable. The parable is a hypothetical or a made-up story that rich with, like the moral teaching, the moral lesson. Well, in case of the Gospel of Luke, I could see that You know, when the story is narrated by Jesus, there are two conditions. The first condition without preceding prompt, and the second condition is with the preceding prompts. And when there is a prompt, there are two kinds of prompt. The first one is directive initiated storytelling, for example, question, requesting, or even asking. And the second one is expressive initiative storytelling, like complaining, criticizing, and accusing. Let me give you some example. Criticizing, a lot of people criticize Jesus at that time, like, why do you eat and drink with the tax collectors and sinners? In his time,
Dr.
those,
Patrawut,
okay.
I'm
Can I
sorry
just
that.
read this slide?
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you very
Okay, and
much.
then I go to the conclusion. Well, in this case, you can see what? You can see the storytelling has been used to respond to criticism, right? So these are two examples when Jesus said, like, what man among you, if he has 100 sheep and has lost one of them, doesn't leave the other 99 in the open pasture and go after the one that is lost until he finds it. And when he has found it, he puts it on his shoulder, rejoicing. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and his neighbors, saying to them, rejoice with me, because I have found my sheep that was lost. I can't go through the two other studies that I still have, which is given by the WHO Director General and also the one that I compare on TripAdvisor. But I'd like to go to the conclusion. The point is why these people select storytelling or select a story to tell people on the digital platform. Well, this is a summary. Then you have to ask yourself, what purpose does storytelling serve in the example above? So the intended meaning, the first case of the Simon Cowell, you can see that he would like to complement in the mass media context and the use of English as the mean of communication. In the second case, to express condolence in the diplomatic context, and of course, English. And the third example is self-press in political context. And the fourth one that I finished is the responses to criticism in religious context. So now you can see that storytelling has used or has been used a lot across contexts. My conclusion is that since you can see there are a lot of storytelling going on the digital platform, right? Storytelling is not telling someone something happened. It serves many functions across different contexts. So the next time you hear a story when someone telling or sharing on social media platforms, pause to consider what purpose that storytelling really serves. So thank you very much for your participation. And if you have any question, I would be so happy to answer at the end of the presentation of the third speaker. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Patrawut. That was a very interesting yet insightful presentation as we learned by real-life examples from remarkable figures and how they communicated. Okay, thank you. I would like to move on to the second speaker. Please wait a second.
Okay, can you show the slide? Okay.
Okay, so for the second speaker, we will have Dr. Emrida Ajam. He will do the topic of Maku Gawene, Transcending Stereotypes Through Intercultural Communication, Local Wisdom of Ternate Island in Fostering Harmony. As for his slides, I will be assisting him, so please wait a moment, sir. Okay, doctor, can you see my screen?
Not yet. Okay, that's already on the screen.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Safira, and good day or good afternoon, everyone. I think this is my turn, and first of all, I would like to say that truly said, I'm honored to be here as one of the speakers. And my name is Emrida Ajam, lecturer at Taiwan University in Ternate. My work focuses on Faculty of Cultural Sciences, specifically in linguistics. My presentation entitled Makugawene Transcending Stereotypes Through Intercultural Communication, with the subtopic Local Wisdom of Ternate Land in Fostering Harmony. This is the value from a small island where I and about 150,000 people stand up on a long and profound history from its glorious era sultanates and already known trait of the complex social conflict we have navigated in the past. Today we are going to discuss how we can apply this value by eliminating negative prejudices and moving away from ethnic labeling by focusing on our shared humanity rather than differences. At the end, I hope of this session that this Ternate and North Maluku's province values will provide a practical roadmap for deeper social integration. Why I come up with this title? Because I have a very limitation time when they told me that I am the one of the speakers here. So I come up with this local issue because at least I know a little bit about this. I think that's the introduction why I choose these topics. All right, we come to the second slide, please. Okay. I have to introduce first where is Ternate actually. Ternate, as you see there, in Indonesia, we have more than 30 provinces, and one of the provinces, North Maluku. So Ternate is in North Maluku, where it is only a small island with historical rich icon volcanic islands dominated by the active Gamalama volcano. It offers a blend of volcanic scenery. Ternate Island is famous for its pivotal role in the spice trade. Ternate Island is famous for its also clothes, where once were their rate is in gold. Many historians noted that in 18th century, Chinese merchant ship through the Moluccas El Piljo, followed by Arabs and another countries to find Ternate. The spices wars is marked foreign occupation and colonized from the Portuguese, Spain, Dutch, and British as well. These all paths now become tourism destination as Fort Orange, Dutch, Fort Toloco, Castella, Fort Kalumata, Fort Pedro, and beautiful Crater Lakes, beaches, and cultural heritage from powerful sultanate of Ternate. It serves as a key economic and cultural hub for the region, known for cloves, nutmeg, unique local culture, and craft. Next. Okay, Makugawene is an acronym, yes, it's an acronym used to represent a specific set of cultural values and intercultural communication mechanism, particularly within the context of Ternate people, to bridge different ethnic background about the, at least in Indonesia, more than 1,300 ethnic groups in Indonesia. The cultural value of Makuaje is philosophy of life from the people of Ternate, which literally means loving one another or mutual affection. As a philosophy of life, it emphasizes compassion, brotherhood, and care beyond ethnic or religious boundaries. Makugawene values pragmatically applied as a foundation of peace and social integration in Ternate. Next. Okay. The application of Makuaje has been instrumental in restoring and maintaining peace in region, previously affected by sectarian conflict. In the aftermath of ethnic and religious conflict in 1999 to 2000, Makugawene values were revitalized to heal divided communities in Tobelo and Galela ethnic. These values act as a social adhesive, encouraging residents to see themselves as a brother and sister first, regardless of their status as Muslim, Christian, or Catholic. Nowadays, there is a trend in Ternate where the values of Makugawene have been adapted into modern grassroots movement. This initiative brings together Muslim and Christian youth to work on shared environmental goals, such as coastal preservation, under the belief that the need for a healthy environment transcends differences and the boundaries of religion, ethnicity, and race. Another practical implementation to maintain peace and social integration is by adapting shared symbol and communication styles as technical method to bridge cultural gaps. For example, newcomers or different ethnic groups adopt local dialects to sign their intent to blend into the social fabric by using common language and symbol. Individuals reduce the otherness that fuels stereotyping, fostering an environment where they are perceived as neighbors rather than outsiders.
Hello.
Next. Next. Okay. When we talk about stereotypes in cultural interaction, we have the subjective judgment or overgeneralization about specific groups that are often insecure. And this is always happen when two different cultural background people make the communication. And the negative impact usually happen when they have no norm that they call together, they have together. The implication may be communication barriers or prejudice, and potential for social conflict. And the other one is discrimination and social fragmentation. That is why Makugawene, as one of the philosophy of the Ternate people, have at least they have the principle on making the communication by restoring that restoring their mind to the other people as their brothers, as loving, as other, not the otherness, but that is we as people. That's the one of the main main core of these local values. Next. Okay. Now we talk about what is the role of Makugawene in overcoming the stereotypes. As an acronym used in represent a specific set of cultural values and intercultural communication mechanism, particularly within the context of Ternate people, to bridge ethnic group, firstly by building the empathy. Because by having this feeling to the other people, we can shifting the focus on difference, not to humanity or to humanity. Because we can encouraging individuals to walk in someone else's shoes means we ask the other people to be one of our community. So with this perception, we can build sameness, or we can include other peoples to our community, and it's make the empathy can be built on. And also the other strategy to enroll Makugawene in our daily life is by eliminating negative prejudice before interaction. And the other one is accepting the diversity as one asset rather than the threat. This is the main operational implementation of Makugawene in overcoming stereotypes. Next. Okay, now I think related to intercultural communication mechanism, we have prioritizing deliberation. Is Indonesia, we call it musyawarah, to gain deeper mutual understanding. Okay. The slide is not so, Miss. The slide is not so in the screen. Okay, next.
Next. Is it showing, sir?
Okay, next. Okay, now how the transformation of interdisciplinary behavior. Here we will moving from judging to understanding. Means we have to move our mind from labeling specific ethnicities by listening, providing spaces for others to define their identity and inclusivity, creating a safe environment for individuals from background to participate. Next. Now we come to the conclusion. I think the concept of Makugawene, because it is a way of life, we come to the conclusion that Makugawene is not just a tradition, but it is an effective communication strategy. Through mutual love, strategy, stereotypes crumble as they are replaced by understanding and appreciation. And the last one, harmony begins when we stop labeling or start loving. Thank you very much. I think that's all. Sorry for the limitation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Rida, for the interesting presentation about Makugawene as a local storytelling and how it can develop into digital storytelling as media to introduce local culture. And then, yes, thank you very much. And then we can move on to the third speaker. Please wait as I will continue to share my screen. Okay, as for the third speaker, we will have Dr. Guijian Liu. She will be introducing the topic of technological empowerment, civilization symbiosis, and global dialogue, a new paradigm of contemporary Chinese cultural communication from the perspective of digital narratives. And kindly reminder, Dr. Liu, that you will have 10 to 15 minutes time of presentation. Thank you. The time and screen are yours.
Okay, I will share my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, later. Can you look at my screen?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Dear friends.
刘老师，稍微打断您一下，您的那个备注露出来了，您可能重新选择一下您的那个投屏模式。
Okay. It's okay.
Wait a minute. 现在还没有全屏。
It's okay.
现在是可以的。
Okay. We're happy to hear to opportunity with us all of the experts and standing with here to share. Oh my God. What's wrong with that? I'm sorry. It's okay. Can you hear look my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Dear friends, I'm so happy to here to share my idea in about what this idea. And today in this topic, I will share about the digital narration and empower civilization dialogue, the new factors in the global communication of Chinese culture. Last time we learning about conference talent and Indonesia, the expert share us so wonderful culture and research with us. And in here, I'm trying to share about what I study about this topic with the Chinese culture, with the digital media about that. And such as here, we can see we will focus on digital narrow and power about. Let's explore how digital touch diverse civilization and unlock the new paths of Chinese culture global exchange together. We all know the proposition about civilization dialogue in the digital age and global factors of Chinese culture is different way, right? And we can see the media is so wonderful and so much we can use. And with the civilization, the survival and exchange and growing through mutual learning. That is unshareable law of human civilization. Today, globalization and digitalization is interview how build crowd culture dialogue behind the bridge. And this is our shared global proposal. And the digital touch reshaped this is Shame's communication limited, revolved ancient civilization, modern value, and make the civilization simple access key to global challenges, right? And with the today, China has the involved in active recent about to active co-builder of the global culture exchange or digital culture industry shames globally, yet face cultural cook knife and this course the barrage and taking black maybe all of the here the friends have to experience about black mass the wukong, right? And other phenomenon cases example, we hold this course the wheel. Chinese culture communication is never one-way export, but a bridge of digital narration of the civilization dialogue and global simple access. And about the literature reviews here, where you can see take the famous work of cultural multi-learning and interdisciplinary perspectives and philosophical perspectives. Emphasis is a bridge of the eliminate cultural cognitive bridges. Is here, right? And today the forecast the philosophical about cultural global cultural communication. First is the core question: how do civilizations understand each other? Thailand, Indonesia, or the Asia or American or European, right? The different civilization make us to how to do it. And cultivate the shamed Sarah shows the stereotyped limit crowd culture understanding, but digital narration, immersion, and interaction reshaped these screens. Bridge Crowhams have the empathy. Mandarin reveals emotion reasonable and a perspective taking a key. It's not one way simple in skilling, but connecting common emotions to live our culture values shaped, right? And about here we can see Eastern philosophy perspective. Simple access is the path of building a new logical of civilization dialogue. this is where to traditional Chinese culture the symbolism, and we can see here the Chinese culture global communication is Eastern simple artists, Western in practice. As the Fei Xiaotong appreciates the one way and others' beauty, and advance shared beauty and break the center perceived. And one way Bridget, we advance and equal skins reasonable in different and survival in symbolism, right? And here about the sustainable development participate with share is the principle of empower the global cultural ecological, right? And all of the world will work and hard to work for that. We will get the goals in the 2030, right? And the deep value of the cultural communication light is injecting spiritual momentum into global sustainable development as the UN 2030's agenda sets the cultural diversity as a core goal, and digital narration is the practical path enable to ancient and the intangible to heritage inheritance, right? Sustainable and eco global culture resources share and its core, right? And the core factors is three dimension, and the global value of the digital communication of Chinese culture is the technology empower is digital innovation activities, the global vitality of cultural inheritance, right? And it's the breakthrough the digital technology have the provider use its tool about cultural communication and have also build an open and shared communication ecological, allowed ancient culture to radiate new vitality and the contemporary area, right? And as last I said, the black mask Wukong using high precision screening and recreate the culture treasure. Like global ancient feel, audience feel is the history warmth while interaction. Shenzhen University patent database have to contact the global civilization is visual simple digitally, and singing Kenya collaboration share the touch to record the Kenya is released, and the ancient achieve the translation the heritage benefit, right? Digital touch revolve heritage across the border, right? And with the last focus about global adaptation is interaction narration, and Tokyo there have the Chinese challenging and intangible heritage. UGC use the lightweight fun digital forms organization used to become a cultural communication, showing platform technology inclusive and use empowerment here, right? And we can see the civilization simple access two-way mutual learning build as a new ecology with crowd culture dialogue. And with the civilization simple access is that we can learning with different way as this picture, right? And the digital communication of Chinese culture have always used the Western of harmony in diversity to break the limitation of one-way output, build a simple artists, ecological of two-way multi-learning, and provide a new paradigms and global culture dialogue, right? And there have if a national treasure could talk, use micro narration and dynamic image to light overseas the audience game to Eastern is the TV shows and the cross dimension spreads. It's the movie is the Naja and the transformates forces the Eastern history with the Western things by via true power from the hair and the winning over the Paris, the Black Mass Wukong trans the rippling agent's face into human strategy, right? Balance with culture, trends and the share value. Culture cross the bridge, global understanding. And the skill road digital measure gets the 2,000 culture related resources from 40 measures across the 18 countries. The translation cultures less the civilization share and learning from each other. CGTN's reading point for you is Chinese and foreigner poets read it together. Emotion like homesickness is Chinese poems resonate global. Vitality connection is culture. This involving bridge diverse civilization. And the global sharing with the cultural communication at the common cause of the inclusive development, right? So the global communication of Chinese culture has always been integrated into the diet of the global inclusive development programs, the inclusive flowing with the cultural resources, with the contact with the share. China used the digital touch with the protect indentures with the heritage and restore relate in its the unhold culture audience. Advice with express is the camera closures and the light with the UNESCO as conversation offering global reference, right? Now, Germany Dresden Institute and Chinese audience co-build psychological and document digital system successful use of the translation cultural heritage with the practice. This practice state to global cultural the economy. Okay, the time is over, right? Okay, the last one about the issue is transgressed with the contact perspective with a potent, no one-way pressure home, by the two-way mutual learning about appreciate each other to cultural building, not teach harmony or participates by the touch empowerment for common development, not civilization clash, zero-sum game, but civilization simple assets for sustainable future. This is the inclusive shame of the digital skill roads. That's what I said. Thank you for your attention. Okay, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Liu, for the very unique yet insightful presentation. We can learn more about how digital storytelling connects to human psychology and philosophy, cultural and wisdom values, and other aspects that you have mentioned to create deeper cross-cultural understanding. Okay, thank you. You may stop screen sharing now. Now that we have heard from the three experts, we will immediately move on to our next session. Will be the first Q&A session. So if anyone have questions for the experts, please feel free to write them in the chat box as I will read them out for you. Okay, I think I have seen a few questions here. Maybe we can start with question from Nadia. First of all, thank you to all speakers. I have a question for Dr. Patrawut. How do storytellers avoid misunderstandings when communicating with audiences from very different cultural backgrounds? Maybe I would like to invite Dr. Patrawut to answer Nadia's question.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for the question from Nadia as well. Well, in cross-cultural communication, people have, what they already have as the background is different. So what we can make sure that our communication is not going to be misperceived is, number one, as the speaker tries to craft your text or make or produce the text in a straightforward way, as simple as possible. You may come across the acronym that explain the world situation right now, which stand for the VUCA world, like the VUCNA. So in these abbreviation, you see the word is so complicated. The outside word is so complicated that it suggested that as a speaker, try to be straightforward. And as a hearer, you should also be open-minded, right? Because there are a lot of cultural differences. And when we talk about cultural differences, it's not about Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia as the macro level. What about inside the country? What about inside Thailand? What about inside Indonesia? You also have a lot of this diversity and differences. So I would suggest two things. As a speaker, speak as straightforwardly as possible, clearly as possible as the speaker, what you want, what you would like to achieve, and no real intention. Do not be so complicated because the world outside is so complicated. Number two, as the speaker, as the hearer, try to be open-minded and accept diversity because people are so different, not only at the macro level, but also at the micro level. That is my answer. I think I would be able to clarify some points with the time limitation. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Patrawut, for the answer. So we can conclude that as a speaker, we have to produce context that is straightforward, but as a hearer, we also have to be open-minded of the context. Yes, thank you very much. And then there is a question from Chacha. Thank you very much to all the speakers for the insightful presentation. I have a question for Dr. Rida. How can digital platforms help younger generations to stay connected with Makugawene and local cultural values? Thank you in advance. Dr. Rida, I invite you to answer the question. Doctor, your mic is still muted.
Yes. When related to the transformation of interaction behavior, especially for the children, especially when we talk about how the young generation can adapt this value, Makugawene value, to make their behavior. In recent condition, Makugawene's values have integrated into education, and the students, especially for the elementary students, they introduce it in the curriculum, local curriculum, muatan lokal, as one of the point when the students firstly come to the school. So we hope that by this strategy, the condition of interaction between tribe or between community with different cultural background can be proved since the students are from the elementary school. Besides that, Makugawene values centers on specialized cultural literacy model designed to define interaction behaviors in academic and social contexts. Instead of making quick judgment based on social labels, those adhere to the Makugawene value are respect differences as strength rather than the barriers of moving from judgment to understand. And I write here, listen actively to understand the true intent behind verbal and non-verbal messages to provide space for others to define their own identity And the last one is to create a safe environment for individual, for all background participation. I think that's the strategy that through educational and also through social atmosphere or social spell. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rida, for elaborating your answer. It was very detailed. Yes. Okay, maybe I can add one more question. This is for Dr. Liu. Thank you for your really grateful presentation. I'd like to ask from your perspective, how can the values of harmony and coexistence in Eastern philosophy help to strengthen cross-cultural communication in the digital era? For Dr. Liu, you can answer this question.
Okay, thank you. I'm very interesting this so opening the question about the different philosophy and the culture. And for my idea or my study, the first harmony without uniformity, right? The hope us move beyond one way cultural expert, right? For example, as the last years the movie with the Naja and the transformate blends about Eastern heritage, Western with the Western with the sacrifice, using the shared of true power or heart, as the Naja said, right? To contact the global audience to cement culture difference into bridge of empathy. The second, I think, is the simple access mindset is built inclusive with the digital platform. Project like with the Silk Road digital measure gathered relate with the 19 countries use touch with the empower development with the nation to share their culture, bridging the digital divide with the unholding equal dialogue, right? In short, we can see this ancient value of China aren't just idea. They are a practice way to make our digital world more connect with include home for all countries. We can together be close, be argument with each other to build our great world, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Liu, for answering the question with very detailed explanations. Faiza, I hope that answered your question. So thank you for all the three speakers from the first session. Now we will immediately move on to the second session. As for the second session, there are two experts and each expert will deliver a presentation for 10 to 15 minutes. We have Dr. Christian Railly Chen and also Ms. Shaza Adila Putri. For Dr. Christian Railly Chen, he will deliver the material of translation as remembrance, the strategies and challenges in translating Walay Ipsun, Without a Brother by Juan Villagonzalo. And once again, I will be assisting him in sharing his slides. So the time is yours, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Shafira. Good afternoon, good day to all. I'm more than honored and thrilled to be part of this international expert sharing. Before I commence my talk, I want us all to imagine this. What would the world be like without stories? And do you think we'll know the past or have access to the past? Like all these myths, legends, tales, sacred texts from around the world. Imagine if these stories were not translated into our global language, which is English. So these questions precisely prompt me to talk about the role of translation as a vital activity that participates in the afterlife of literature and stories in general. Today, I'm going to frame our discussion on storytelling as a cross-cultural act of translation. Next slide, please. So according to Philippine National Artist for Literature, Resil Mojares. The Philippines, a very rich country in terms of culture and resources, and an archipelagic one at that, is in fact a country constituted by translations, a statement that is no understatement or whimsical proclamation. For centuries, translation has enabled access to the knowledge systems of ancient cultures and civilizations as a derivative or second order form of creation intended to imitate or recreate a foreign language text. According to Venuti, translation in the present time becomes a very compelling undertaking as it traffics through the pre-colonial, colonial, post-colonial, and in fact, decolonial grids of texts and their audiences. So foremost to this issue is the literary translation of novels. So despite the conflicting notions of what makes literature a distinctive text and the literary translation a special occupation, Hermans underscores that literary translation's legitimacy rests not only on its nature as a derivative form of writing, but as a significant counter in the symbolic economy and carriers of ideas, attitudes, and values. Juan Villa-Gonzalez's pre-war novel, entitled Walay Igsuon, or in English, Without a Brother, was published in 1912 and was hailed as the first Cebuano novel. By the way, Cebu is one of the major cities in the Philippines. It was formerly the capital before it was moved to or transferred to Manila. So we have Manila in Luzon, Cebu in Visayas, the major city, and Davao in Mindanao. So as novels provide access to and critique of the social organization and material conditions of a particular time and place, so too are their translations. For in the words of our Cebuana local historian and scholar, Erlinda Quintanar Alburo, novels such as Villa-Gonzalez attach the vestiges of Spanish colonialism, its institutions, the abusive Guardia Civil tenancy system, as well as the newly introduced American practices that were considered a threat to such traditions as the chastity of women. So as this talk was actually lifted from a paper which I wrote in my postdoctorate class. It's a translation class, translation course, I mean. And so when I studied this, I thought of a way that this translation of the Cebuano heritage novel provides us insights into the afterlife of the significant texts in the history of Cebuano literature, enforced by its value as the Cebuanos' collective cultural memory during the American colonial period. So I will just be picking the very significant findings, key findings in my paper. First, to chart the terrains of the novel's translation as an act of remembrance by framing the idea and practice of translation as a cultural memory text. So I'm using here Ling Long's position of literary translation, cultural memory. Then, of course, to contextualize the historical conditions of the novel, and then to describe the linguistic and aesthetic strategies of the translation of this sociological text. So lastly, I will conclude with the strategies employed by the translator herself, Dr. Hope Sabanpan-Yu, to account for how the act of paghandom or remembrance is an instrumental reinvigoration of hubad. That's the Cebuano word for translation, which in my talk would refer to the strategic negotiations entailed by Dr. Ho, Yu as the translator, within the matrix of the sociological fiction and its configurations of cultural memory. So translation and the act of remembering enter a symbiotic relationship So whose premise is anchored on a return to and a reworking of a source across and against the strictures of accuracy and comprehensiveness. Can we now switch to the next slide? So it is in this mode of translation, according to Lin Long, that the translated text becomes the site of cultural memory and the resource which a translator uses for situating a literary translation within the confines of existing cultural capital. Can we move on to the next slide, Miss? Thank you. So this is essential not only in the decoding and the relating of the translation to its new context, but also its ordination of the status as a memorial narrative itself. So the novel itself becomes a form of cultural memory text. So known as a cultural turning translation. Can we now move on to the next slide, Miss? Thank you. So cultural translations signal the shift from, just the formalistic, linguistic practices and strategies to one that lays, greater emphasis on extra textual factors such as context, history, and conventions. That's according to Basnet. That is why in this paper which I wrote, I see to it that translations do not just exist horizontally, but also in a circuitous manner, where the very act of translating is a heritage story or novel, and becomes, the site of the complex systems of power that are ever prevalent. So it is in this tradition that the translation of historical texts using cultural methods not only involves a linguistic transfer, so it's not just a very linguistic activity, but there's also what we call a transplantation, translating into the receiving culture the cultural framework. So can we move on to the next slide, Miss Shafira? Next slide, please. I'm done with the locus and the focus. Next slide, please. Okay, can we move on to the next slide? So these are the major discursive strategies in the translation of this novel into English. So the translation is in a way a very negotiated activity, seeing to it that the cultural idiom, the cultural historical sensibilities of the time, and even the voice and tenor of Juan Billy Gonzalo is preserved into the translation in English. That is why Dr. Ho Yu, based on my analysis, came up with these different translation strategies such as foreignization, transposition, modulation, adaptation, equivalences, calque, translation shifts, and even thick translations. So can we move to the next slide? So I'm going to show to you just an example, okay, that's just one of the many translations that I discussed in my paper. So much of the narrative style of the novelist Juan Villa Gonzalo is focalized diegetically, where the narrator often summarizes and describes the events and characters, including their thoughts and feelings. So at times the narrator rhetorically intrudes to interject, his comments or opinions or address the situation. Usually, tensions or conflicts for the reader's contemplation. So take, for example, that extracted passage there, right before you, the first meeting on page 63. So while at the outset it appears that the entire passage is translated literally, you, the translator, actually employs oblique translation which is accomplished by the use of transposition. As in the case of batang masoso, or the Cebuano term for baby, if one were to look up the root word of masoso, which is suso, the dictionary would provide you these range of meanings, now, which mostly falling under the category of pungan, or the noun. As an infant, even as a snail, a breast or suckle, as bruise, and a lot more. So one is left with the word child or bata, and infant masoso. So it would be redundant if one were to translate infant child as just merely infant. So here, U applies the principle of fluency, where the code of the target language takes precedence by referring to a baby, which is more or less visually recognizable, than an infant. And the use of the word baby, it's more conversational, which is but the general tone of the novel itself that you, the translator, aims to retain. So in many parts of the translation here, let me just synthesize these things for you, because it's going to take up a lot of time. But the bottom line is there are really negotiations, linguistic cultural negotiations, but these negotiations should not be understood as losses in translations, but gains in translations. Although literally, there will always be a loss and a gain syntactically because of the difference in the linguistic structure of Cebuano, Visayan, and also English, which is why it helps to really understand your very purpose of translation. So can we now move on to the last slide, Miss? Because I barely have a few minutes left. So I interviewed actually the translator in one of the sessions that we had. This very act of remembering or remembrance was unconsciously engendered by the translator, Dr. Hope Yu, as a heuristic to negotiate the sociological interpretation of the text while simultaneously ferrying it across the realm of the English global reader. So to Hope Sabanpanyu, the translator, translation is empowerment. So it's not just communicating about language and, the mechanical transfer from one medium to another. As a kind of ferrying across, it acts as a bridge between generations, considering that without a brother, here, where it spans several generations for both Cebuano and non-Cebuano communities, who may not have access to the archives of Cebuano literature. So a Cebuano culture is a very unique culture. One might not right away find resonance with it. So that is why translation mediates this creative tension. So it's always a creative tension. Okay. I guess, yes, my time is up. Okay. Ms. Shafira, are you still there? Okay.
Yes, I'm still here, yes.
Okay, can I just wrap it up for one sentence? So in here, translation mediates this tension, which brings about understanding of cultural differences. So that's it for my talk, and I'd be very happy to entertain your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Christian, for the very insightful presentation about how translation helps digital stories travel across cultures. Thank you very much. And then we will move on to the last speaker, which will be Ms. Shaza Adela Putri. Please wait as I will be sharing my slides. Okay, so we will have her as our final speaker in the topic of why digital storytelling and not just any assignment. For Ms. Shaza Adela Putri, the time and screen are yours.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shafira. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share in this International Expert Sharing meeting. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Shaza Adela Putri from the English Education Study Program Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Riau. Today, I would like to share a reflection from my teaching practice entitled Why Digital Storytelling and Not Just Any Assignment? Encouraging Comprehension, Pre-Service Teacher Education. What I will share today is not a research study, but a reflection from my teaching practice, focusing on how a particular classroom condition led me to rethink task design. I will start from a classroom condition, move to a pedagogical concern, and then explain how digital storytelling became a response to that concern. Right. So, as you can see, these were the classroom conditions that motivated this approach. So learning was often approached as task completion with a strong focus on grades. Meanwhile, comprehension tended to become a secondary goal. Students were generally active and responsible, but learning was often treated as something to finish rather than something to deeply understand. So this pattern became clearer when I observed what happened during learning activities. And in practice, students demonstrated limited ownership of ideas and surface level of participation. They did participate in discussion and presentations, but many responses sounded procedural rather than reflective. In some cases, even answers in oral discussion were AI assisted, which helped students perform well academically, but raised questions about their actual understanding. So this led me to a key realization. So as highlighted on this slide, we can see that participation does not always mean understanding, and performance does not always mean comprehension. Even though some students seem to be active in class, we cannot very sure that they will understand what they were talking about. So this was an important turning point for me. Rather than viewing this as a student problem or a technology problem, I began to see it as task design issue. If students can perform well without understanding, then maybe the task itself may not be asking for understanding. So this reflection shaped my pedagogical response. Okay, these are the pedagogical responses I adopted, in which the goal was to make comprehension visible, shift the focus from performance to understanding, and design tasks that require explanation. The guiding idea was simple. If students have to explain what they learn, they have to understand it all first. So this idea led me to consider digital content creation as a learning task. So why digital content creation? As shown on this slide, digital content creation supports learning through explanation. When students transform ideas into content, they must organize information, choose appropriate language, and think about meaning. So learning then shifts from consuming information to actively constructing understanding. However, content creation alone was not enough. Students could still produce content without really thinking about how ideas connect or what the message actually means. So this brings me to digital storytelling, or DST. This is why digital storytelling was chosen. DST adds narrative, which supports understanding and helps students connect idea meaningfully. It also enhances language skills, fosters learner autonomy, and positions communication as part of learning, not just as an outcome. Because it uses familiar digital formats, students engage more naturally with the task. And based on this rationale, the task was designed as follows. The first, student research the topic given to build understanding. And second, they construct a narrative to organize ideas. And finally, they create a digital story to communicate their understanding. Each stage builds on the previous one, ensuring that the explanation is grounded in comprehension. Okay. Many may ask, isn't this basic? Everyone already does this. Yes, the approach may sound familiar. However, the value lies not in novelty, but in intentional task design. Like two bakers using the same recipe, the outcome depends on intention, process, and experience. Although the methods may be the same, but digital storytelling is positioned deliberately as a comprehension-oriented task. Okay, at this point, it is also important to explain why we may choose specific topic for the task. As shown in this slide, sorry. Okay, as shown in this slide, Gen Z psychology was chosen intentionally. The topic is relatable, close to students' own experiences, and lowers resistance to learning. Students recognize issues such as procrastination, academic pressure, and digital dependency in their lives. And because the topic is familiar, students are more willing to reflect. They are not just presenting academic information, but making meaning from experiences they understand. This relevance becomes a bridge between academic framing and deeper engagement. With this in place, digital storytelling becomes more than just a technical task. Okay, wait, sorry. I'm sorry. So, is this really digital storytelling? Yes, this is conceptually digital storytelling because the task involves narrative construction, multimodal expression, meaning making, and audience orientation. The focus is not on technical sophistication, but on how students use narrative to communicate understanding through digital media. And this leads to the core pedagogical value of digital storytelling. As summarized on this slide, explaining requires understanding, narrating organizes thought, and communicating demonstrates comprehension. So DST makes understanding visible. When students struggle to explain, it reveals gaps in comprehension. When they explain clearly, it shows meaningful engagement with the content. This is why digital storytelling functions effectively as a comprehension-oriented task. So on this slide, you can see the learning objective in EFL class were addressed. So students practice reading to understand concept, speaking, then they practice speaking to explain ideas, and they communicate by considering audience awareness. Language learning and comprehension are integrated naturally through the storytelling process. And this slide shows examples of my students' digital storytelling outputs. The outputs are short educational videos focused on explaining and shared on social media. The emphasis was not professional production quality, but clarity of meaning and communication. And then here, students position themselves not only as learners, but also as communicators. As shown on this slide, students demonstrated clearer explanations, greater ownership of learning, and more intentional language use. Notably, the increased enthusiasm in working on the project given contributed to a more positive and engaging learning atmosphere. And this enthusiasm was also visible during the class discussion. Students were not asking questions just because they were required to be active in class, but instead, many of them were genuinely curious and wanted to understand the topic more deeply. And their questions were no longer about completing tasks, but about exploring ideas and making sense of what they were learning. Learning felt then more meaningful and both academically and personally. Okay, so the main takeaway from this sharing is that when learning tasks are designed to require explanations and meaning making, students move beyond simply completing assignments. They begin to engage more deeply, become more curious, and take ownership of their learning. I would like to conclude this with a reflection. Moving from performance to comprehension requires understanding students' learning condition. When teachers design learning that is meaningful and relatable, learning becomes both effective and also enjoyable. At the same time, this process reminds us that teachers, educators are also continuous learners. We have to grow and adapting alongside with our students. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Saja, for your presentation. It showed that how digital content creation can support meaningful learning by helping students and also learners to understand concepts through explanation and also idea transformation. Thank you very much. And now, since we have finished the second session of the experts sharing, we will now move into the last Q&A session. So due to the limited amount of time, I'm afraid that I will only able to take 2 questions, one for each speakers. So please wait a second. Okay, I think I have seen some questions here. Maybe we can get the question from Rifda. Thank you so much, speakers, for the insightful presentation. I want to ask to Dr. Christian about how can translation preserve cultural memory while still allowing reinterpretation in a new language and context. Maybe I can invite Dr. Christian to answer the question.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that very wonderful question, Rifda. Translation can really facilitate in the preservation of cultural memory by seeing to it that the majority of your translation strategy borders on foreignization and thick translation. Let me explain that shortly. In foreignization, you're actually retaining the Cebuano-ness, the Cebuano tone, the linguistic structure, although some of it might be changed. Okay, so it is in the sense that the English is Cebuanized in this way. So you're reading a Cebuano English, an English with a Cebuano tone and ear to it. So that's precisely the kind of translation invigorated by Dr. Hope Yu. Although there were some aspects where the structures are modulated and transposed, but then it's still dominantly, you get to hear the Cebuano voice of Juan Villagonzalo. So I hope I've answered your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Christian, for answering Rifda's question. Rifda, I hope it answered your question about translation. And then maybe we can move on to the second question. I see a question from Shava here. To Ms. Shaza, when educational stories are shared on social media, how can they be promoted in ways that encourage meaningful learning rather than just to gain views or likes? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. This is an important concern. So educational stories shared on social media can move beyond views and likes when they are designed with learning intentions in mind. Especially in this task, the focus was not on popularity or engagement metrics, but on how clearly ideas were explained and how meaning was communicated. Although the students may focus on the likes or subscribers or something like that, they have the good experience and engagement in when they making the digital storytelling itself, the digital story itself. So students were encouraged to see social media as a space for sharing understanding, not for seeking validation. When the task emphasizes explanation, reflection, and narrative, attention naturally shifts then from how many people like this, or does this message make any sense? So it's more personal to the students in the process rather than to the other people validations on social media. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Saja. Yes, I think we can focus more on the intention rather than the output, like in the form of validation or any other. Okay, thank you very much for Dr. Christian and Ms. Saja for attending the second session of expert sharing and also Q&A. Now we will move on into the next session, which will be group photo. So for everyone in this meeting, please turn on your camera and use the virtual background that our colleague has provided in the chat box to do a group photo. I will give everyone 30 seconds to prepare. I hope that is enough to get ready for the group photo. Okay, I think 30 seconds have passed and we can start the group photo now. So for the colleague who is responsible for taking the group photo can do the group photo. I will start the countdown. 1, 2, 3. Another one. 1, 2, 3. And then the last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you everyone for participating in our group photo. We'll start screen sharing again now. Okay, now we have come up to the final session, which for the participants to fill in the attendance links in order to achieve the certification of participation. And once again, we would like to apologize that we may wrap up the event a little bit later than usual, but I hope that all of the participants here enjoyed the insightful and also meaningful session that talks about digital storytelling and cross-cultural communication. And as for the 5 experts, I will shortly contact you again after this in order to send the certificate of speakers. So thank you very much for participating in this event. Please don't forget to fill in the attendance link in order to receive the certification of participation. And thank you everyone, and I hope that all of you are having a nice afternoon today. Thank you. Thank you very much for the 5 speakers here. You may leave the Zoom meeting now. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
I still fill the link.
No, you don't have to fill in the attendance link as it is for the participants only.
Okay, thank you very much. So I close it.
Yes.
Okay, see you, Ms. Safira.
Yes.
Thank you very much for helping me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you as well, Doctor. We are so happy to have you here.
Yeah, nice to see you.